Okay.
What was the
So that just in the nick of time.
Yeah, that last one was like that too.
Me?
No, the last one.
Oh, the last show. Oh, it's up here. That's right.
Yeah.
Duh.
Yep.
I think I'm going back to work Monday. Pretty sure.
Really?
It'll be 2 weeks since my little ordeal. I was up there today for a little while.
There we go, Linda. Linda watching. How's it going, Linda? Actual page. You tagging some people or what?
Me?
Yeah, you.
Yeah, I'm tagging some people.
All right.
Hear me typing.
All right. Boom. Tagging.
I think if David doesn't show up for this one, we're going to his.
We're gonna go to his house.
Yeah,
Did
we're
you
going to
tag
his
him?
house. I'm tagging
Did
him
you
right
tag
now.
him?
Let me see.
Hey, Lynn.
Next time.
You know the deal. Everybody tag somebody. Tag, tag, tag.
Oh. Just beat me to Megan.
Did I? I'm just. Hey, Jessica. Today's going to be a great show because you're going to run it.
We hope.
We hope.
Don't let us down.
Don't do it. Don't let
do
us
it.
down. Forrest is here.
Hey, Forrest.
We tagging people right now. Just tagging.
That's all we're doing. We're going to do that for 45 minutes, then sign off.
Yeah. Be a good show. Be a hell of a show.
Be a hell of a show.
Figure if I'm tagging people, doubles, whatever, right?
Don't matter.
All right.
Then they realize how important it is.
Right?
Who's got you confused, Jessica? You got yourself confused. Don't blame that on us.
Oh, no. We know.
It's
we
not
know.
our fault.
We know. Tag some people.
Here, I'm going to click like on the Jessica one.
You're going to click like on that?
Yeah,
I
so
wouldn't.
she knows.
I wouldn't.
Then I'm also going to tag her myself. So then that'll be like three notifications, Jessica.
Awesome.
Oops.
Hey, Meg. Megan. It's going to be an interesting one because it's up to you guys today. We were trying to come up with a topic and we were kind of like, let's let them decide.
Let's let them decide.
Yeah.
Let's let Jessica decide, I think was exactly what I said.
Oh, don't do that. Hey, Lori.
That's what Joe said was no, not that.
You can't stand y'all. Oh, you love us or you wouldn't be here. I think that's the case.
She's just here to hawk bronatorship.com.
Mm-hmm.
That's all she's here doing.
Mm-hmm. Tag some people. Tag. Oh, yeah. Lovely. You really don't want to do that.
Don't want to do what?
She's what you would call we have the medical warrior and we have the keyboard warrior.
Yeah. Right, yeah. She is a keyboard warrior.
Yeah, keyboard warrior for sure. Really, really, really.
It's not free. You owe us, Jessica.
Boom. There's Megan. Let's see what we got here. Bam. First,
fist bump, Jessica.
let's not talk about. I like that. That's a good idea.
All right.
Hey, Terry.
We'll talk about recovery then.
Forrest is also a keyboard warrior.
Oh, Forrest is just a mad shit talker from way back.
From way back.
He's one of the original Facebook shit posters. Tell me if I'm wrong, Forrest.
Our good old governor. Look at that. Natalie's here and she's not sleeping.
God, Emperor Gretchen. Natalie, you're awake? That's great news.
Medical warrior, meet the keyboard warriors.
Right. You'll be asleep soon.
Yeah. Marie's here. Look at that. Everybody's rolling in slowly but surely. No shame in my game. All right. Tag some people. Everybody tag someone. Got a few more minutes before well, actually, we only got about a minute or so. All right. Oh, Lori blew the hands out. I don't know how to take that one.
What'd you say?
She here and done working for the night, blew the hands out. All right. All right, let's just get started then.
Let's.
So as you may have already heard, we're gonna do something a little different tonight. We're talking about different topics for tonight's show, and we decided to go with whatever you guys want to talk about. So you are the show tonight, right? All you have to do is drop your comments in there, your questions, whatever topic you want to talk about. Drop it in the comments section. We'll get it up on the screen, and we'll roll with it, right? We'll try to keep everything kind of short to the point, so everybody can get whatever they want up there, and we'll get to it, right?
Sounds good.
Sounds good.
Let's do it.
Let's do it. All right. Someone throw something up there. Anybody? I'll throw something out there. Did anybody watch American Relapse after the last show? Hey, Katie.
Hey, Katie.
Anybody watch that? Watch that?
I wonder if Katie's seen that. Because she's friends with the star in it. One of the stars.
Well, I would imagine she did. Hey, Katie, have you seen American Relapse? Hey, Nicole. You guys should really check out that American Relapse. It's a funny story. Oh, they asked you to be in it, huh?
No
Sweet.
shit. So what happened, Katie? Maybe are you gonna be in American Relapse too?
Hey, Lisa.
Ah,
That'll do it. Yep. So now that they changed the name, would you reconsider? There's a little delay.
oh, I see.
Michelle's here.
Hey, Michelle.
Anne's here.
Hi, Ann.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a delay in this whole streaming thing.
Uh-oh.
Katie says.
Hey, Lisa.
Katie says. That's a good point, Katie. It does shine a light on the negative aspect of everything. For sure. I guess you could see it two different ways, but that is definitely one way of looking at it. Hey, Eric. It's your cuz.
Yeah, hey, cousin.
Yeah, but it does expose the dark side of the whole addiction recovery, that whole path. It was just an interesting thing to see that that's actually happening, and how are we going to deal with that? How are we going to correct that? So I think the show actually did do some good in the fact that it was kind of exposing what was going on in the streets, because Florida started changing some laws. So that's definitely
right. Yeah, I think it had a huge impact for that very reason.
Yeah, definitely a positive thing. So we tried we did a Zoom group yesterday, and it was pretty fun. We talked a little bit about everything. I think there was even like egg salad was brought up somehow, some way. But no, it was good. I think we are gonna do another one this weekend, sometime. I don't know how you feeling tonight, Tim. Like let's do a late night.
Play it by ear, I suppose.
Play it by ear. All right, we're gonna play that by ear. Yeah, Lisa, we had fun. We had a lot of fun. If you look on our thing on our Facebook page there, and posted Brady Bunch, how they're kind of looking at each other. That's kind of how it was at first.
Yeah, right.
Where everybody's trying to dial in, get their mic set, their camera set.
Trying to figure out how to Zoom.
Yeah. So it was definitely interesting. So what? Someone shoot us a topic. Come on, all you keyboard warriors. Shoot us a topic. This is not going very well. We're going to do it. Recovery. That's a good one.
Whose idea was that? That is a great one.
Yeah, recovery. All right, let's talk about recovery. What are some of the things you think are the biggest hurdles in going for, like, initially, let's say the first 3 months, the biggest hurdles that you come upon in going from addiction to recovery, like those first 3 months?
For me, it was probably really believing that I wanted to and that I could want to, or that I could do it. Because so many times that within that 3 month span, man, I gave up. So just probably sticking with it and ingraining new habits instead of going to the dope house, going to a meeting, that sort of thing for me, I think was a big change. You
know what I see?
What's that?
And Nicole just actually hit it right on the head. I'm going to put that up there real quick. It is who you hang out with. We see it all the time in law enforcement. They get out of jail and they jump in the car with their homeboys and homegirls, and it's the same old scenery they had before, same old atmosphere, and the same old bad influence. That's where it's really tricky. If you can't separate yourself from that, those are those, we hate using this word, but we're going to use it, triggers. Like one of those triggers is, if you associate yourself with addiction and certain people, that's what you're walking into.
Yeah, for sure. And I think that goes along with what Lynn just said about missing the old life, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's underestimated how addicted the actual lifestyle is. When you are out there running the streets like that, those people, in a sense, become like stand-ins for your own family. Those are the people you're close to, the people you see every day. Even non-addicts, as human beings, we're creatures of habit. We crave routine, and I think that's very insightful, Lynn, because I know that was very difficult for me. Always kind of wondering how those people were doing once I cut myself off from them. That was definitely tricky.
And that kind of ties into that with when you've moved on in your recovery, but your family hasn't. That's a challenging thing in itself, and we've talked about that many times with the burnt bridges and reestablishing those relationships, building that trust over time. That doesn't happen overnight, and you didn't destroy it overnight. It was a long process, and sometimes it's just a matter of time. It can be a downer, like when you are excited to tell somebody something, but yet they don't believe you, right?
Right. Yeah. And for me, I like I just said a few minutes ago, there are so many times I quit within the first 30 days, 90 days, that it took me a while to believe it when I would finally start to get clean. Naturally, anybody in your life who's watched you go back and forth wants to, you say it all the time. It's not what you say, it's what you do. Right. So they're kind of waiting to see what you're doing. And as much as we want our loved ones to be impressed by the fact that we went to a meeting that day, they want to see you hit a couple in a row.
Right.
They want to see you stick with it.
Right.
Because they've seen you go to a meeting before and then go out and use, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, it's frustrating when you, I think, do start to get clean and you wonder, like, why doesn't everybody see all the great stuff I'm doing? Why don't they realize I'm for real this time?
Exactly.
But it's because in the past you weren't, and it's very difficult to sort through.
Yeah. And Nicole brings up the fact that she left the country, and when she came back, she had lost contact to all those people over time, but they were still doing the same thing, like still doing their thing, and she had moved on.
Oh yeah, they're like, I think about when you're sober, when you used to hang around with a bunch of people and you drank, and then you quit drinking. It's no longer fun to go to the bar and hang out with those people, right? Because like Nicole says, you're on a way different level. It's just not. It's not the same at all.
Yeah, and then we can go up here and we'll show. Yeah, and that's Lisa brings up that it's pretty much the cherry on top. When they're hanging out together in the group, and or even just a relationship, and that can be dangerous because it only takes one, and then the other one's right there, and you feel associated with it, or you own it type thing because it's a relationship.
Yeah, relationships are always hard. They're especially hard early in recovery, and they're especially hard to be in when you were with another addict, right? So trying to move forward together in recovery it's something that doesn't happen all that often. I'm not saying it can't, and I'm not saying it's not worth trying.
Yeah.
But I think most of us see that it's a very difficult thing.
Yep. And Rich says, sticking with the winners, not hanging out in old places with old faces. Those are those triggers that we mentioned. Bad word, but we'll use it. Yeah, that just plays a huge role in that. And if you're not far enough along in your recovery, or you're confident that driving past the old places you used to hang out, maybe even a fast food restaurant or whatever it may be, that sparks that temptation. I remember we went to the mall. We pulled in, and there was the Barnes and Noble.
Mm-hmm.
And you made a comment because we parked right by there.
Yep.
And you made a comment that, like probably 6 to 7 months ago, you wouldn't have really wanted to park right there. It would have sparked some old memories and maybe brought some cravings back.
Yeah, it still is a bit of a trigger for me because it's somewhere I went all the time. It's kind of my go-to place if I wanted to be high and alone. I would hang out in that bookstore, and then a lot of times I would meet my dealer up there too. So it was a huge trigger for me, and it was kind of a hard thing because I love bookstores, and the fact that I had rolled it all up in my addiction made it difficult early in recovery to find like good spots. But luckily today it's not the trigger that it used to be. I'm pretty comfortable there again.
So yeah, Nicole, you were very fortunate to be able to leave the country, but a lot of people are not that fortunate. That's a very good statement, because that kind of leads into when you hit rock bottom, you go through detox and you get into recovery and you're making progress. It's a slow progress, right? You're not gonna overnight just get out of rehab and have everything back to where it was before all this happened. So a lot of times people are relying on any kind of support they can get. And sometimes they're fortunate enough to have any support. I mean, that's basically what it boils down to. So in a lot of situations, put them right back in a bad atmosphere, right? Whether it's parents or spouses or whatever that are still in that lifestyle, it's difficult.
Yeah, and I think Nicole will agree with me when I say, besides having the opportunity to get away, and that probably really did help her get clean or what have you. If she had wanted to use, she'd have found a way to use, right? Because wherever we go, there we are. Yeah. And if you're not ready, I know I could go pretty much anywhere in the country, and it wouldn't take me very long to find it. No, probably the same day in most places. So, yeah, that's great. I think it's a wonderful opportunity. If you have it, you can take it. But it's not necessary. You can beat it in your own town. There's 12-step meetings in a recovery community in every town. East side of Detroit.
Yeah. So yeah, that's a thing where you mentally build yourself up, and when you accept that these are triggers and you work mentally through those, whether it be through therapy or your own techniques, you're able to handle that. And really it comes down to assessing what's in front of you and just evaluate the possible outcomes. I mean, it's a simple way to put it.
Yeah.
Like if you're in recovery and you know that Johnny over here is a bad influence and goes right back to where you were before, it's pretty easy to look at Johnny and then just kind of evaluate the possible outcomes of what's going to happen if you're still around Johnny in the next 2 minutes, right?
Yeah, I'd say so. And just as incidentally, Nicole, I was born on the east side of Detroit. So I don't associate my using days with that. It's more like the east side of Flint that triggers me, but I feel connected to them both in one way or another.
Hey, Taylor.
Hi, Taylor.
So, Taylor's got quite a few comments, I'm sure, on that whole recovery topic. For those of you who don't know, Taylor was a guest on our show. She's on one of our actual podcasts, which you can find at Anchor. Just check for the link. I'll drop it in again in the Facebook feed. But yeah, very, very interesting story. And Nicole, we're going to be looking for you, right?
That's right.
That's
Nicole,
right.
You're going to have to be on next. I saw Forrest had a good comment.
Yeah, so I'm going to put Forrest's comment up there.
Insidious things is that it can never go back to anything that it used to be. Most addicts go through recovery trying to get back to something. I'm trying to help an old friend. Oh, second grade.
It's on the screen.
Here we go. His alcoholic roommate was forced to have. Yeah, insidious is a word that comes up a lot in regards to addiction and recovery. And it really is. And I think that's so true for us. Is there's so much we lose that we can never really have back. Like we can make amends in certain relationships, but rarely can we fix them. And even if we can fix them to an extent, there's still always that like damage there. And it is hard. It's hard to lose like community and people and jobs, and we do a lot of damage in our recovery for sure.
Yeah, and it's rough because I see it a lot, especially in the jail setting. People, they're on the run, they're doing whatever they do, and they end up in jail. and then they want to call everybody, and they want help, they want bond money, they want them to pick up those phone calls for $15 a minute, and they're not getting through to anybody, and that's like a big downer, right? Because they're like, okay, now I'm in jail, and for them that's like the worst place possible, because now you're gonna go through, you got the detox coming ahead and all that. You want nothing but out, and you're looking for help, and they don't want nothing to do with you. That's a tough one to swallow.
Totally agree.
So Nicole, just get with us. If you want a video in, we can remote you in. Rich says, long story short, you're going to do what you're going to do until you are completely honest with yourself. And that's a good comment.
Yeah,
that's a very good comment, a good point. If you're not honest with yourself, you're not going to make it very far.
No. The first step has to do with some honesty, right? Admitting that we have a problem. Yeah, we can't get anywhere in this in our fight with this disease without some honesty. That's for sure.
Yeah, because if you don't acknowledge you have a problem, then you're probably not going to acknowledge that you have to work extremely hard to get through it.
Probably not. No, you're probably not just going to start working very hard to accomplish anything unless you think it's necessary.
Yeah.
And worthwhile.
Right.
And that is worthwhile comes from that rock bottom.
Yeah, and it's for us. It's very. We see it a lot. I have to say we see it a lot because they are at rock bottom, and a lot of times they'll say the right things, do the right things in a short period of time because they're cornered. They need out. They want to get back to what they need, so they're not dope sick and going through detox. So they will scramble to the best of their ability to get whatever needs to be done.
Yes, sir.
And then Lynn says, yeah. So yeah, Lynn, that's what we're talking about. As an addict, you're running the streets, you're doing whatever you have to do to get your dope, and that is a comfort zone, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when we come over and say, boom, you're now in jail and you have no means of getting your dope, you're out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, pretty much no matter where you come from, jail, you're out of your comfort zone. I mean,
yeah. I mean, I don't know.
Well, for most of us, at least.
Yeah. I don't know if too many people that are comfortable.
No, I never was.
Yeah.
I don't like jail. Sometimes I try not to go on the record, try to dance around certain things, but I'm just going to come right out and say, I don't like jail. I find it uncomfortable and I don't want to go back. Just for the record.
For the record.
Yeah.
Okay.
You can quote me on that.
All
jail
right.
sucks.
It sucks. But believe it or not, there are people. The best way to describe jail is it's its own society, right?
Right.
And some people that can't function out in the real world, right? They find ways to go back to jail, right? Because that's where their comfort zone. Everything's provided for them. They have a
Three
status
nights in a cot.
Yeah, and they have a status,
A sense of belonging.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's kind of, it's amazing to see how comfortable some people are in jail.
Yeah.
And I look at it like,
which tells a whole different story.
Right. Yep. Nicole, yeah, it's the worst. She agrees.
So Nicole and I will not be signing up for any field trips.
No field trips.
We don't do a scared straight. Mom and Dad, please don't sign me up for a scared straight with Joe.
Oh, come on.
I've heard how those go, and I don't want to cry in front of him again. It was bad enough the first time, and the fifth time was bad too.
The fifth time too? I think the fifth time was worse.
I cry a lot in front of Joe.
Really?
I cry a lot. I'm emotional.
So
ramen
noodle addiction. Yeah, that's for sure. Yeah, it's crazy, but some people, they just feel so comfortable there, and it's like they know they can survive there. I mean, everything's given to them. There's no responsibilities.
Yeah.
There's nothing there for them to worry about.
Right. And real quick, I want to say hi, Linda. But yeah, horrible anxiety walking into Lapeer County Jail and hearing the doors locked behind me. But I'm over it now after 2.5 years. Yeah, that's the thing I think is. Thanks, Forrest. Shout out. I was watching. There's this show called 60 Days In, and recent season they had like actual people in law enforcement and corrections officers going in there, kind of undercover, right?
Yep.
And they were breaking, man, because it's a whole different thing. It's even people who work in there all the time weren't ready to be locked up in there, and they knew they would get out someday. They didn't have the pressure hanging over their head of job loss and all these other things.
Right.
But they would get into that holding cell and just freak out, just have a panic attack and not be able to like self-soothe and work their way through it.
That was quite amazing show to watch.
Yeah.
Like, the one guy that comes to mind was, he was so confident and arrogant that he could breeze through this, and they would never find out who he was. And he actually broke down. Like, I mean, he had a mental breakdown. Like, they had to isolate him and save his life from him getting,
right. And and you have to like think about the fact that those guys were like tapping out, like giving the producers the signal that are like, hey, come get me out of this mofo.
Yeah.
And they did that knowing the whole world was going to see them.
Yep.
Like, it just blew me away. Like, that's serious anxiety. That's, and some people, because of their upbringing, it doesn't even have to be drug related, just are kind of comfortable. And in a way, that's a sad thing, frankly, for people who are more comfortable locked up than not.
Hey, Kelly, thanks for tuning in. Rich, our facility, we don't really like to name it, but it is one of the top facilities in the state. It's really clean. It is sometimes referred to as a country club of jails.
Yeah.
I've heard it called the Ritz-Carlton of jails.
Yeah.
But yet...
It's not bad.
It's not bad.
It's better than Genesee County.
But our goal, like, we have transition. We don't just lock you up and that's it, right? We have a lot of programs. We encourage people to better themselves. We have a lot of people that volunteer and come into the jail. Lynn is one of them. They do great things, and we allow them to come in and do great things.
And that's like really what it should be, because without everything you just described, Joe, it's not corrections, right? It's just, you might say it's justice. It might be society getting this pound of flesh from somebody, but it's not correcting any behavior.
Right. And that was, if you go back to our very first video, remember that? Like, it's kind of ghetto compared to what we got going on now, but that was like when I first hired in, I was like, wow, man. I was like, what the hell are we even correcting, right? Because it was lock them up, maybe a few classes, a little GED class that they never finished, or that was pretty much it, and get out, right?
And what good does that do anyway?
Yeah, and now I'm looking at, okay, then they're out, and then I see them at the grocery store, I see them over here. They're in our community, right? So why would we not want them to be better, right? That makes no sense to me.
No. And I'm so glad to know that at least my local facility has the attitude that you just described.
Yeah.
Because it's, again, opportunity, right? Crisis is opportunity. We have these people where they're possibly like really, truly open to changing and taking a hard, truthful look at their lives, right? That's your moment. That's our moment to seize, to help them see a better way. Right. You don't wait till they walk out the doors. You got to start that process as soon as possible.
Yeah, you can't let them go or expect them to go find that help when they leave.
Right.
When they're there, they want the help. That's where you get them. You're exactly right. And that's where we've been able to make a huge impact. Like I said, we have that Vivitrol program that's rocking. Right now, it's got some really like spectacular results so far.
Do you know how many other local jails have that same program, the Vivitrol program? Have they all kind of come on board now?
I would say probably by now a vast majority of the facilities in our state are on board with it. Some have even gone to Suboxone and methadone. It's just depends on what facility, if they have the staffing. It's a tough call because we accomplish everything not through budgeting but through networking. The money's not there, so we have to make it work how we can. And I think that's a very important point to make, is without that networking with different facilities, even companies. We've networked with Vivitrol. They give us the first 1 to 2 injections free. So you're talking like almost $3,000 right there, right?
Did
but-
you see Nicole asked what the Vivitrol program is? And I know
Oh.
you're kind of talking about it.
Yeah.
But maybe you want
So Vivitrol program, for those of you who don't know, Vivitrol is an injection. It lasts for 30 days, sometimes a little less, but we'll get to that in a minute. It's basically puts a cloud over those receptors and reduces the cravings for alcohol and opioids. So when you get that injection, it allows you to concentrate on going to therapy, looking for housing, employment, and all those services are kind of wrapped into our program. So we just don't give you an injection, kick you out the back door, and say, have fun. You leave with follow-up appointments already made for you, transportation tokens for the bus if you don't have transportation. It's a great program. People are taking advantage of it and doing very well.
And I should probably say, although I didn't start with the jail, I had been prescribed Vivitrol by my physician, and it's been like a miracle for me. It's so one of the differences, Nicole, between it and Suboxone is it's totally non-narcotic. And there is a Suboxone also now called Sublocade that lasts as long as Vivitrol. So you have like Suboxone, Sublocade, Vivitrol. They're all slightly different, but the beauty of Vivitrol is
yeah, that's where it's at, Nicole.
Yep, Lapeer County Jail. That's where a lot of people in our community are introduced to it.
So it took about a year to develop this because we wanted that safety net, and we hate saying this, but we wanted them to, we wanted us to almost secretly hold their hand through the process. So that's why it took about a year to coordinate everything and make sure we had no loose ends. And it's been very successful. I think we're up to right now, the last time I checked, which was a couple of days ago, we're up to like 39 injections. And of the 39, we are at 32 that haven't returned. And a handful of them I know are doing quite well. Some have returned on unrelated charges, which means they didn't return needing to detox, we'll put it that way. They have returned on like maybe outstanding warrants or a failure to pay fines and fees or whatever, maybe child support, that type of thing, but not drug related. So that's a positive. That's a very high rate of success for that program, which we're very proud of.
And Lynn had a good comment right there about how she's been told by numerous women that as soon as they get out, they plan on using. One thing I want to let you know is, Lynn, is that it's not just the women, right?
It's not but she deals
with the women, right? So I'm here to let you know that it's not gender specific, right? Like, and it is frustrating. It is a discouraging thing, not just to hear that from people, whether they're in rehab or they're locked up, that they're just planning on returning to their old ways, but to be actually in that situation and feel that way yourself, to know that to get locked up and to just be thinking, I just want to get out and get high, it's a very that'll shake you up. You'll really learn you have a problem in a situation like that. Like, despite all the consequences and the new charges hanging over my head, so on and so forth, I have every intention of walking out of here and doing just what I did that got me in here in the first place.
Yep, and it just piles on. It's not like the same charges. It's going to be
right.
More extreme, longer sentences and more fees and all that good stuff. So yeah, it's crazy. We're trying to change that mentality, and that's part of where that Vivitrol program is. We do like once a week orientation, which orientation includes a little bit of therapy, little preparation mentally on what's coming. And if they're not honest with us during the orientation, they have to leave, because Vivitrol is a great tool. It's not a miracle drug, but it is one of the closest things to it. But the thing is with Vivitrol is you can overdose and die because you don't feel the effects of it, right? You won't feel it. You'll physically have, if it were alcohol, you would slur your speech still, you'd stumble, have coordination issues, all that you would feel, but you mentally you would not feel drunk.
Right.
So what happens is, and I always say, you can't outshoot or drink Vivitrol. You're probably going to die.
Right. Right. Yeah. You can use and hurt yourself, but the euphoric rush that we're all chasing after, us addicts, is it Forrest we're taking here?
Yeah, I want to take
Okay.
Forrest right now. So Forrest, that's an awesome question. So yes, believe it or not, hi Elena.
Hi, Elena.
So believe it or not, the state of Michigan reached out to every facility, every sheriff's office in the state, and they sent out a survey, and it asked what we deal with, what we'd like to see changed in the world of addiction and recovery. I answered all those questions very thoroughly, then sent them back in, sent them an email and said, I'm a little upset that you had a character limit on the responses. That led to a phone conversation with the person that was heading up this whole inquiry, I should say. And so we talked a bit, and it turns out she was in recovery herself. So the state of Michigan actually did one of the smartest things they could do, was hire somebody who's in recovery to work with the facilities to get the best program streamlined, right? Streamlined, because what happens a lot is we'll get someone in our program and then they'll have to go to another facility, take care of another warrant, and then everything is gone, right? Because they don't have that service or they don't have that program. So they are working on streamlining that with the best possible options. And I'm proud to say we were one of the 6 jails in the state chosen to participate. So I'm hoping that the reason we were chosen is we do have a solid program in place. And
stands to reason.
Yep. And we're eager to hear if anyone else has a better program in place or just take advice. So that is happening.
And I want to say real quick, hi, Sarah. Sarah is my niece's mother.
Oh.
See you, Rich.
See you, Rich. Thanks for dropping in. Yeah, so there is progress being made. It's obviously, I know Forrest or whoever it was didn't want to talk about, it was Rich. He didn't want to talk about this COVID thing, but.
Well, he left.
But he left, so we're going to talk about it.
Yeah.
So what we have is like, the whole addiction recovery thing was going to be a huge topic in the presidential election debates coming up from both parties. They both get it. It's a problem that we have to address. We have to find some sort of solution or solutions because there's multiple solutions. There's one, a set of solutions for incarcerated people, and there's a set of solutions for people that are out in the community looking for help, right? So that was going to be a huge topic. And now this whole COVID and pointing the fingers at political parties is going to be the main topic of all these debates. And it's sad because at the end of the day, there's no political party that was going to be prepared for this. So unfortunately, that's taken over. And I have a feeling that's going to carry into the debates, which is going to kind of just snuff out some of the ideas that are out there.
However, I do think that on a local level, we will see these sorts of things discussed soon for local elections. Maybe not at a national level, but I think in the...
Yeah, definitely. I think a lot of communities are now starting to see that it has to start locally, even though that funding has to come from the federal government on through the state down to the local governments. But what we're going to see is a lot of people have realized you can make a change without necessarily having a huge chunk of cash, right? A lot of times it only takes having an open ear and the willingness to help somebody make a phone call or get them to treatment or however the case may be. It doesn't always have to be about money. And I think a lot of like the law enforcement agencies are working in that direction. A lot of the prosecutors are, judges are even participating in the drug courts and encouraging those. So there's a lot of things going on where it doesn't take a whole lot of money. Hey, Josh. Yeah, speaking of government officials, we have one of our city. His ears were burning.
They must have been.
Yeah. So, yeah, it's crazy. Let me get another comment up here. Yes, that's obviously. I think we'll get to it, Elena. I think it's just going to be a phase that this COVID is just going to take over discussion forever because it's something we've never been through, and it's unfortunate because the people that are making the decisions on the funding have never been through addiction.
That's a great point. And real quick, we just saw from Rich. He was like, I don't want to talk about COVID. People are going to get tired of talking about this.
Yeah.
And we're going to come back around to these topics like addiction and recovery. And again, one thing I always get frustrated with is this idea of when people make things a zero-sum game that don't have to be. Like, why spend money on Vivitrol instead of spending money on insulin for a diabetic, right? We can do both. And we can also both speak about COVID and speak about addiction recovery. So there's only so much Netflix in the world. We can actually just converse more. You know what I mean? In fact, now is a better opportunity to do that than ever.
Right. And I think right now people you see a lot of people, they're always on Facebook Live, they're watching documentaries. So a lot of eyes are going to be opened. Some of the things in the news that, they talk about with addiction and this COVID thing is a scary thought. Like they're predicting that drug abuse, alcohol abuse is going to go through the roof. You're going to have a lot of more suicides. I know locally we have at least attempts, and it's a sad thing. And I think that's an eye opener that's out there. And then you throw in the mental health, which kind of ties into all of those things. There's people that have mental health issues that are not necessarily going through addiction.
Right.
And they're struggling as well. And that's why we preach. That's why we switched from our audio podcast to Facebook Live, was to be able to reach out to people, interact with people.
Yep.
And that's why we started up with the Zoom meetings.
Because there's so many different formats. Why not take advantage of them all? Right. It helps us reach a broader audience. We got a question we have to take from Josh. Actually,
from Josh.
Real quick.
All right.
I think we both will answer this the same way.
Yeah, Josh, we would be absolutely thrilled to do that. I believe a lot of the local politicians are looking forward to hearing that. I've had contact with a few that want to have in-depth discussions on what needs to be done. We don't claim to know everything, but we do have an idea from both. That's the unique part about our podcast is it's coming from we'll say addict in recovery and the law enforcement side of it. I think that's very unique. And for us to give a presentation on that, I think that would be an outstanding opportunity for everybody, including us.
Including us, yeah, because, it helps us get into touch with what people are curious about, and it can just help us tailor our message going forward. So, yeah, I hope we can do that, Josh. Thank you. Thank you for even asking about that. We'd love to do that.
Yeah, absolutely, Josh. Just reach out to us. All right. Lisa was talking to some ladies. We were talking about recovery from the state we're in. We're surprised how many different options we have in Michigan. Well, see, a lot of those groups, and again, if you go back to our audio podcast, we had a community mental health worker as a guest. And we kind of talked about how these groups are ran, who qualifies for them. And I think a lot of it has to do with each state and how their Medicaid is set up and how it's zoned. That plays a huge role in things, believe it or not. That all comes down to funding, how many groups are actually funded through grants, and they apply through grants with multiple districts. It's very complicated on how they disperse those funds to these groups, and it's a process. But if you go and listen to, again, I'll drop the link in after we're done here for our audio. There's quite a few interesting episodes, and once this whole COVID thing is over, we're probably going to go back to those. We just feel it was more important to be able to interact with people and get the message out there, check on people, make those phone calls, flip a text. Make sure everybody's okay. We all know who's struggling or could possibly be struggling. Seeking recovery after. Oh, that's a good question.
And I'll say this, Forrest. I think a lot of people who are in early recovery are going to come out a lot stronger because of this. So much about recovery is learning how to cope with life on life's terms, as we say. So I think it's going to do a lot of good for the people who were in recovery and were really committed to staying in it at any cost. I do think, however, unfortunately, this is going to be a jarring time for others, though. And I do think we'll probably see, like, just imagine this summer when restaurants reopen. People are going to want to go out Tuesday night, Wednesday night, Thursday night. Nobody's going to want to stay home. And I think that there's going to be kind of a big party in a good way and a big party in a not so good way at the same time. So it'll be really interesting to see. But I do think a lot of individuals in recovery are benefiting from this. I hope our society can adapt too, but that'll be a bigger challenge in my opinion.
Yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting to see how this plays out. We've never been through anything like this before.
Right.
So they need to know this, City Hall. That's a good point, Lori. So a lot of communities are kind of left behind because they don't have someone leading the cause, right? If you live in one of those communities, it doesn't take much to go in. I don't think there's any sheriff's office or police department that wouldn't give you any statistics if you asked for them on drug arrests and that type of thing. There wouldn't be any kind of community mental health center that would say, no, we're not going to tell you how many programs we have, right? Get that information. Go to your county meetings, go to your board meetings, go to your city commissioner meetings. Sit down and get someone who is willing to lead the charge. You do have to be informed. Like you can't just walk in and say we got a drug problem, because then they're like, yeah, no shit, right?
Yeah, right.
But how do we fix it?
You say, well, there are a lot of people who have been touched and are touched by addiction. A lot of people in any community. What you don't have are as many people who are motivated leaders.
Yes.
So that's really what we need, because those leaders will find the army to fall in behind them. Sometimes just that's what a given community needs, is somebody to step up and be the first and lead the way.
Right. And it does take someone that's going to, you're not going to walk in the first time and say, yep, we have a drug problem. We need more rehab. We need more groups. We need detox centers. And they're going to be like, you know what? You're right, young man. Here you go.
Yeah. Yep. Go get them, Tiger.
Their hands are tied as far as funding as well. It doesn't happen overnight. So, yeah, we have to be very, 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 very cautious of that. So interesting fact was we had a young gentleman show up to our department for help, right? He wanted to go to rehab. He was 19 years old. So he didn't have any criminal issues, no warrants, anything like that. But he showed up to the department, and we utilized the Hope and Handcuffs program. And it was probably a week and a half ago, I think it was. And I was shocked to see that there was only one rehab center open that was actually accepting new people in the state of Michigan. One place. So unbelievably, we got him in within 2 hours. So I think things we're making progress. When every other facility in the state of Michigan is shut down and there's one facility open and they are able to take somebody within 2 hours, that's impressive.
Yeah, that really is impressive. I would have never guessed that.
Right. Hi, Liz. Hi, Holly.
Hi, Liz. Hi, Holly. Hi, Freedom. Hi, Ford. Oh, we've been talking to Forrest.
Yeah, he wasn't really initially not on his own, Forrest. He was kind of forced to come in. Our sheriff took the time to sit down with him and his parents and have a long discussion. He was a little bit rebellious to that. He didn't want to hear it at first. And then what happened is they left and they're like, okay, we're done with you if you can't see what we're trying to help you. And he ended up, this is what he told me. He ended up, they left, and he said that was an eye opener for him. They left him standing right there, right, and said, "You're on your own. Go get help. And when you get help, we're there for you." That's what they told him. That's what his mother and his pregnant girlfriend told him. And the funny part they found out the girlfriend was pregnant during this whole like powwow session, right, which was a shock to everybody. So then the whole world come crushing down, right? So he said he slept on someone's floor in some apartment, had really no idea who he was or what was going on. And he couldn't sleep, and he woke up and he said, I need to get help, right? So he actually reached out, and yeah, our sheriff actually personally went and got him, which you won't find very often.
No, wow, that's amazing.
Yep. So he actually went and got him, brought him to the jail, and we got him into treatment. But yeah, 19. He just turned 19. So that's very young. And I told him that he actually made the first step, which was admitting he had a problem. And we had a long talk while we were waiting for all this to transpire. And I hope he should be out next week. But I hope he's able to make it through this whole lockdown period and get some help in the way of therapy.
Well, at least he knows where to go.
He does. Help. Yep. He has my number. He has the sheriff's number. I believe he has connections now to where he'll get some help.
It's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, it's so we are making progress. I think the biggest issue that I see is streamlining everything, right? Like you go to one county and call and say, I need treatment, right? And you made at the same time in another county call and say, I need treatment. You're going to get two different answers, two different plans. And it's got to be streamlined. And it's not. It's the furthest thing from it. We talked about this before where we had one going to a different county. It was being released from our facility, and he was going back home and asked if we could make connections for him to continue his Vivitrol and therapy and all that. And our nurse could not get through, could not get an answer. And it was like in the afternoon. And this poor guy, he's sitting there and he looks at her and he starts laughing. She says, like, what's so funny? And he's like, you've been on hold forever, getting the runaround. He's like, welcome to my world. Now try getting treatment. Right?
You're right. Right. Yeah. And when you talked about the fact that we have one jail in the state and we were able to get somebody in 2 hours, it made me think back to 2011 where there were rehabs everywhere. Yeah. And it was taking me 3 and 4 weeks, and I would never still have that same desire by the time they called 3 weeks later, and we've talked about that, how important it is to be able to seize that moment with someone when they're finally ready to get help. So
yeah, when an addict says, I need help, you have like a short window. There's no time to waste and tap dance around and put people on hold and then throw that, that's discouraging. It's very discouraging.
Yeah, absolutely. In fact, I could see how discouraged my parents would be, because they would see that I wanted help. They could tell the difference. And for them, it was very discouraging because they're like, maybe we can finally save his life. And the only thing holding it up was like bureaucracy and insurance companies and red tape and all that kind of stuff, not the individual desire that is first and foremost utmost important. So
and the biggest thing is, do you have insurance, right? So that blows my mind, because at that point it doesn't matter. I think you can sign anybody up for Medicaid, right? At any time. It goes back and it covers up to 90 days, right? In the state of Michigan, we have the expanded Medicaid. So it goes back and covers the last 90 days. So there should never be a question from an insurance company or about an insurance when someone says, I need help. They should be like, whoop, van, scoop them up, and let's go, right?
Yep. I agree.
Yeah, and we'll take care of the insurance later.
Sure, 100%. You see...
Nicole?
Yep. I just want to say congratulations.
Yeah, 7 years. Nicole, I remember back in the day, I'm not going to lie, you were a handful. But yeah, you were constantly in and out. of our jail and other jails, I believe, if I remember correctly. But yeah, 7 years, that's amazing.
No, it really is. And also, I think it's really important that you said what you said, because 7 years and I still need help. I think that's, I'll tell you, 8 months and I still need help. And I don't have any doubt that over the rest of my life, you know, God willing, I'm able to stay in sobriety, that I'm still going to need help from time to time. I'd like to think the further into recovery I get, the less often I'll need help, that I'll gain independence and autonomy in my recovery. But I know there's still going to be times when I will need help. And I think it's important for you to say that, in particular for those people who aren't in recovery themselves, so that they understand that your loved one is never 100% out of the woods. You know, you should always be ready to be there for them in a pinch, because it's, as Forrest said earlier, an insidious disease. So
yep. Yeah. And that's why we preach in every one of our podcasts, reach out to people, check in, make sure they're okay. And it's a dark time right now. It's depressing because a lot of people are, they're just sitting at home, right? And they're not doing things. They're not looking at like new projects or new hobbies or finding a way to help somebody. Simple things like that. We have to do that, whether you're in recovery or not, to keep your sanity. But yeah, that's why we preach that. So we'll go down here and see. Yeah, that's definitely and a lot of times, Nicole, what we see a lot is if a negative thing happens like that, if an experience like losing a parent or a spouse or even a friend, a lot of times that will kick somebody in recovery right back, because of the it's just it's a depressing time. It's very difficult.
Yeah, and it's I think that's why, like, that first year recovery is such a important milestone, because it's like we've been through so much of life one time now. We've been through every season, and different seasons are different triggers for different people. And we've been through the holidays. We've had a birthday sober. Mm-hmm. We've done all these life events. But we don't always within that first year get something as major as the loss of a loved one like you experienced. But whenever that comes, to clear that hurdle sober just builds up resiliency and gives you the strength to clear the next hurdle in the same way. So I'm sorry for your loss, but props to you for all your success.
Yep. So Kim, I think that's a great question, actually, because that's going to vary. You have to know your situation and you have to know their situation. And then you have to set your own boundaries and be okay with what you're doing, right? So you have to, almost the same way, you have to evaluate the possible outcomes of what you're about to do. When you say be there for them, I think the biggest thing is be there to let them know that you support them 100%, right? That if they need anything, not in the way of money or that type of thing, but as far as support, transportation, driving them to appointments, that kind of thing, that goes a long way, because believe it or not, 5 of our Vivitrol people at the jail relapsed because they didn't have transportation. Oh, yeah. Now you can see that whether it's an excuse or it really did happen, but that's what they're saying.
There could be some legitimacy.
And there definitely could be some.
Yeah. And my answer to that would be, the best way to be there for them is to be there for yourself. I'm no good to anybody else in recovery if I don't frankly, I got to put my own recovery first. If I don't do that, I'm not a good parent. I'm not a good son. I'm not a good friend. I'm not a good employee. I'm not any of those things. Least of all, a good sponsor or somebody who can help someone else to grow. So take care of yourself first. Sometimes you have to instill some boundaries, but as long as you're doing the right thing by you, you'll be better able to help somebody else.
And Kim, again, if you go back and watch our video with Katie, we hit on that quite in depth. And I think you'll find that very beneficial if you haven't seen it.
Yeah, I almost brought that up myself.
Yep, that's a very
good. Watch the Katie episode.
So here's one from Forrest. Something about the short window. Yeah, so that short window, I think what we're talking about is, when someone's going through addiction, friends, family, even law enforcement, they're all like wanting them to get help. And we all know that until they make that decision to get the help that they want the help, we're not going to make them get it. So I think that's what Tim's saying.
Yeah, man. Like, so I hear what you're saying. I think and I'm glad you said it, frankly, because it gives us a chance to hash this out a little bit more. For me, being desperate enough to get help was always a fleeting desperation. But, and that's why, like, when I see it, because I do work with alcoholics and addicts, and both at work and just in my own life. When I see that desperation, I try to seize it. Sometimes it's by encouraging people to go sign up for a Vivitrol shot or to go to rehab or to come to a meeting with me. And you just kind of hope that, I guess, in those moments of desperation, to be in a position to plant some seeds that might grow inside of them. I understand what you're saying, but I do think there's an importance in being able to recognize somebody who's I don't say vulnerable, but like legitimately open to change, because I think we're when we're comfortable, we're not growing, right? Like, growth really necessitates discomfort. It's just like working out your a muscle set. You need to be in some sort of discomfort. It's kind of the same way in life. Sometimes that desperation is because we're broke, right? We can't afford to get high, and so we want help detoxing. But whatever it takes to be able to seize that moment and get that person help in that moment, I think is sometimes the difference between life and death.
Fleeting desperation, yeah. So we got Nicole here with, wow, yeah. See, and that's where we can say at that point, Nicole, I would say you were mentally far enough along in your recovery to know that was obviously a very risky time in your life. A day after your mom passed away was your 5 years. That's something that we see a lot, where people are like, exactly what you said, fuck everything. And that's, you overcame that, and that's something huge. It's something a lot of people struggle with.
And I would be curious to hear, in that specific instance, Nicole, 5 years clean and your mom just died on the verge of relapse, what was it specifically that helped you get through? Because we know it could have been your meetings, it could have been your support system, it could have been any one of those things, and it probably was all of the above. But what in particular really helped you through that difficult time? I'd love to hear that.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so that support system is incredibly important, and we can't stress that enough right now in the times we're dealing with. And that's why, again, and I know it's very repetitive, reach out, text, call someone. Everybody's struggling, especially people who are in recovery. They can't go to groups. They can't. There's no oversight anymore. For a while, they dropped that's I guess a bad word to use for it, but drug testing. The drug courts are no longer functional right now. So a lot of that oversight is gone, and it takes all of us to get through that, right?
Yeah, it doesn't. And just so you know how it feels, I just actually tagged a friend who reached out to me today and left a voicemail, just checking on me. And it was awesome. It was like an awesome feeling. I have to call him back. But it means a lot to be on the other side of it, to be able to reach out to other people. I think sometimes is more helpful to us than it is to them. So
be an Ed. That was
be
Ed.
an Ed is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
let's start a hashtag.
Right.
Be
an Ed.
Ed.
But that whole thing is so detrimental right now, and it's a very sensitive situation for everyone. I struggle. Like, we did the Zoom meeting yesterday. I had a blast.
Yeah, it was fun.
Yeah, it's just goofing around.
It won't be the last one we do.
Yep, venting. And it's something I'm not used to. It's not something I would have thought I would have been doing 2 months ago. Right.
Right.
I'm one of those
few of us. Most of us didn't know what Zoom was a couple months ago.
Right.
but we're learning now. And boy, oh boy, think about poor Skype. If only COVID had come around when Skype was still a thing.
Yeah.
Skype would have blown up.
Yeah.
Yeah, please do watch that Katie Donovan episode.
Yeah, that Katie one.
Ms. Brown.
Yeah, that one is awesome. Katie brings a whole different perspective to it as a mother, and I would highly recommend you watch the entire video because there's at the end it's pretty heavy.
Yeah, she's a great speaker. She's very motivational.
Yeah. But yeah, that's it's a difficult time for everyone. But we're gonna plan a Zoom meeting here as soon as we get done with this. We're gonna card out a day and a time, and look for it. It may be a twilight one. We might do like midnight, something crazy, right?
Something crazy. Who knows?
Yeah, who knows? We might do it.
We're only limited by our own imaginations and bedtimes.
Exactly. And coffee refills. Yes. So we're gonna set that up. It'll we'll let you know. Look for the Rexon Effect rump shaker. Zoom, right?
That's right.
But yeah, that's what we're gonna do. Everybody's invited. You don't have to be in recovery. You don't have to be law enforcement. You can be anybody, right?
It's not a meeting. It's not a 12-step meeting. It's a law and disorder meeting.
Right, and it gives everybody a chance to talk. If they have questions, if someone else has a question. Like we had one, she's not here today, but I just like halfway through, she wasn't saying much, and I was like, "So Deborah, what are you here for?" And she
opened right up.
She opened right up.
Yeah.
And I think that did her
awesome.
Yeah. And it was surprising, but she opened right up, and I could see that it really helped her. She needed that.
And it helped me too.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
Yeah, and it's always good to get to know other people, see where they're coming from, what they're struggling with, and how to make egg salad. That was a topic for a minute.
Yeah.
But we have fun, we crack jokes, and we talk about a lot of things. So we'll be dropping that in pretty soon. Watch for it. We hope you join us. And I think Sunday we're going to be live again.
I think so.
All right. We'll drop the topic as soon as we work on that. So thanks for tuning in. We're going to wrap it up for today. As soon as you're done here, share it and check on somebody. All right. At the beginning, we tagged people. Now we're going to check on people.
That's right.
All right.
Check on one person.
That's all you got to do. That's your homework. All right. Catch you guys later.
Yeah,
Thanks for tuning in.
Thanks for tuning in.